The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to Meet the Author. My name is Joe Nash. Today we're going to be talking to Colonie resident Marian Glass. She's written a book here, sort of a self-help book. It's called The Human's Handbook. You'll see it right there. The subtitle is An Owner's Manual for People. So welcome, Marian.
Thank you.
So Marian, you are from Albany. You've lived all over the country. You even lived in Greece for a while. So before we talk about your book specifically, just tell me a little bit about yourself, and so people can sort of know who you are and everything.
Okay, yeah, this doesn't alarm you, but at the age of 3, I realized there were such things as miracles. Because I had the measles, and I was left with a crossed eye, and the doctor said that I was too young to be operated on. I have to wait till I was 9 years old. But by the time I got to kindergarten, I realized that my eyes were different from the other kids. And I said, what am I going to do about this? And I was given instructions to look in the mirror and just keep moving the eye in the direction I wanted it to go. And it stretched the muscle, and my eye straightened out. And by the time my mother brought me back to the doctor, he says, it's straightened out all by itself.
And then you write about this in your book.
Yes,
here.
I do, because we, the human race, has a wonderful, wonderful helper. It's a divine helper. Nobody told me about miracles. I was a little kid, 5 years old, but I got the message, the divine connection.
So you've been aware of this since you were a kid, okay?
Kid. Nobody told me about it. It's
right.
there.
So, and before we talk specifically about what's in here, some of the things you're talking about, I just want to let people know that you taught at Arthur Murray Dance Studios for, 50-something years?
Yeah. Well, not there. I waited a couple years and went to New York and became, a famous. I danced at Grossinger's. I taught at the famous resorts because I got tired of being in the insurance business. And I do explain all that. I think I do.
That's all in here. So, Marian, you started writing this book in your 60s. What made you want to write a self-help book?
Well, I had written one in 1981 when I was in San Diego. And, it went over so big. The stores were selling it out like crazy, and it was sold in the largest bookstore, and people came from all over the world to go to this seaport village. So when they got my book, because they bought it there, they'd go back to Japan or wherever it was and write to me and tell me how much they loved the book.
What was the name of that book?
Which End Is Up.
Okay, and what was that about?
It was metaphysical.
Okay.
But at the time, I was running this huge non-smoking social club.
Okay.
That was back. That was 1976. That was back before there were.
Before smoking was banned everywhere.
Right, or anywhere. Anyway, so it got to be so popular that I got to be popular.
Very good.
Yeah, and.
So you started this one. Tell me about this one, though. What made you want to start this one?
Okay. Well. It says there that I moved into a senior building. I came from Tucson, Arizona, where I had never seen a senior building. I was living in San Diego for 17 years. Then I moved because my family moved.
1995, I think.
For my 50th high school reunion. And my cousin had told me, if you're going to move back here, I want you to be in a security building, and there are senior buildings. I said, okay, find me one. And she did, and I got here. And I first saw what a senior building was. I thought it'd be me, because I'm a senior, but they weren't. They were in wheelchairs and
you mentioned in your book that these people they seemed a lot older than they actually were, you said.
Yes, and I realized, and this is what the whole book is about, the human race has accepted a far more rapid aging process than was ever intended. I don't, somehow through the years, they saw, grandma or mama and papa and everything getting old and feeble and everything, so they thought, well, that has to happen to me. So I'm going to dismiss that myth, because it's not so.
In your book, you say middle age is actually from 60 to 80, is that?
That's what I experienced. I didn't even start to feel even the slightest bit senior until I got into my 80s. I will be 88 June 6th. So I realized something was wrong, and it had to be changed. And if I was appointed the one to change it, I will take on that responsibility, and I did.
And so you're saying, one of the things that you say in your book a lot is, like you just said, people with the age, they're actually older than they appear to be. What do you think causes that? Why do people?
They believe that's what it has to be.
Because why?
They look. Okay, heredity, genes.
Yes.
Oh, and I'm so thrilled that science is catching up with me. Oh, did you notice people are starting to look a little younger?
Yeah.
But some of them are having plastic surgery to do it, and that I wouldn't mean to, but I could put plastic surgeons out of business because I have never had plastic surgery.
Well, you mentioned exercise is important, and I think the overriding thing I got from your book here is the power of positive thinking. That seems to be an overriding.
That title has been used.
I know it's been used.
So,
that has been used, but throughout your book, you stressed this. Tell me a little bit about that idea of yours.
Okay. Thoughts kept in mind reproduce in kind. I didn't make that up, but I quote from the best. I don't know who that was, but I do put quotation marks whenever I say that. So if people think a certain thing, like I'm going to lose my teeth, I have all of mine. And if they think, well, my joints are going to be arthritic, they have all sorts of things that they learned from their grandparents and their parents, or maybe the neighbor next door. It's whoever is aging too fast. They think that isn't fast. That's the way it is.
Well, you say in your book that harmful thoughts are actually passed down from all sorts of places.
You have to break free of what do I call it? Old wives' tales.
Yes.
And but people have to be shown how. You can't just say do this. You have to show them how to do that. You have to take the thoughts that are there and enrich them. And especially now, when the doctors are starting to back me up, like Sherwin Nuland discovered that our cells don't have to
age.
Be our boss.
Yeah.
We can be the boss. Of course, I thought about it before he wrote about it, so that made me feel good. In fact, the guy who helped me publish this said, doesn't it make you feel good when you see all these books coming out with all this stuff that you wrote first? I said, no, they got published. So now that I'm published, I feel, okay, you guys did it in tomes. The first 300 pages were case histories.
Well, your book is under 100 pages, so I think you've distilled some of the knowledge of some of your favorite authors here.
I don't have 300 pages of history, histories. My history is in there because I was told by the first person who edited this, a professor over at RPI, he says, you can't talk about all these miracles and things without any proof. You have to tell them the stories of your life. I said, but I didn't want this to be an autobiography. He says, Marian, you cannot talk about these theories without telling them how you know.
Well, Marian, since I know you a little bit, I would say you are living proof of some of the things that you are.
That's what it says on the back.
I just wanted to ask you, the power of positive thinking. One thing you say in your book here is you can transform yourself just
Yes.
by your beliefs.
Yeah, definitely. That's what does it.
So what it
If you don't believe it, you won't see it. Oh, you know who made it? Oh, God, Wayne Dyer said something like that. I'm sorry, Wayne. But, yeah, if you don't believe it, you will not see it.
And another thing that in your book that comes up several times in your book is the importance of an emotional life for your well-being. Would you like to comment on that? To have an emotional life that's positive and everything.
Oh, okay. I would say everyone gets depressed sometimes.
Yes.
What you need to know is how to get out of it. Some people hang on to depression like it's a hobby. Or this is the way it is, so this is the way it is. Not this is the way it was. Now I'm grabbing hold. I'm taking stock. What are my talents? What are my abilities? I'm not going to just be a wimp at a pity party. You have to talk to yourself.
Well, what do you think hinders a lot of people from from being positive, from thinking positive?
The conditioning. Everything in life is conditioning.
All right, and your book sort of goes into that. Another thing that comes up in your book over and over again, I would say this is one of your overriding themes here,
Yes.
is that your emotional life can affect your physical condition. Psychology affects physiology, I think you said, more than once in here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But can I bring this in, because I don't know if we're going to get to it,
Well, okay.
that this book goes for fetus to elderly. Of course, fetuses don't read, but
Well,
but the person who's carrying the fetus
yes.
is influencing right from.
I think scientific studies have shown that. You are
Yeah,
correct.
but after I came out with it, and I called up my friends and I said, look, science caught up with it. It isn't just what you eat or drink or smoke that affects the fetus. It's what you believe, what you think, how you feel, and what the baby is hearing, the sounds around it.
Well, Marian, how long have you been putting these practices? Have you been doing this your whole life, or only since a certain age?
I got distracted when I was going to school because I wanted to be like everybody else.
Yes.
So.
Well, tell the story about, and it's in your book, about your parents wanting you to work at an insurance company, but you.
Well,
sort of
I
rejected
did.
that.
I did for a few years.
Yeah.
I was a good daughter.
Yes.
I did for a few years, and then I just couldn't stand it anymore.
Working in an office.
Right. And I was in this restaurant, and this newspaper opened up to employment, was on the bench.
You were still working at the insurance company then, right?
Actually, I think I left.
You left. Okay, so I'm sorry.
I didn't know what I was going to do.
So you just happened to see
It
this.
just happened. There's no such thing as coincidence.
Okay.
Oh, that's a big thing. There's no such thing as
Okay.
coincidence. Everything is predetermined. Everything.
Okay.
Now, in big print, it said Arthur Murray Studio accepting teacher training candidates. And the Arthur Murray Studio was right down the street from, no such thing as coincidence, the restaurant I was eating in. So I picked myself up and I went in there, and they had all these bunch of 18-year-olds. I was 26. And they were all there. They wanted to be an Arthur Murray teacher, you know. I just wanted to get up off my rear end and get some exercise. Of course, it would be nice to be able to teach people to dance, too. That gives you a nice satisfactory feeling. So I walked in, and all these 18-year-olds were sitting there, and Clyde Russell, the manager of these, comes out, and he says to me, you're next. And I said, what do you mean I'm next? I just came in. He said, you're next. So, and he hired me right then and there.
But you were.
I was 26. I was in a knit dress with a hat and gloves.
Had you been
to
doing
match.
some dancing then?
Oh, dancing all my life, but
so-
not professionally, just for fun.
And how has this does come up in your book a lot? How has dance in general? How important has that been to your life in different aspects?
There are different aspects of it. First thing, it's wonderful exercise. It's the best. They say swimming is, walking is, and dancing is absolutely the best exercise. I don't care, you can walk for miles, just get up and do a mambo. I could show people. Oh,
Well, we don't really have time to demonstrate.
And you don't have the music either. Music makes
But
makes
just
me-
talk about-
But I knew that it wasn't just for the exercise. This was going to be the best thing I ever did. So I stayed with them for 2 years, and then I branched out and started my own. And then people said, "What are you doing here?" Because I went up to Scarroon Manor, and they were saying, "Oh, you should be in New York. You know, that's where all the good ones are." So I moved to New York, and I no sooner moved to New York, and they sent me to Grosinger's. I had an apartment, and I wasn't living
This is
in
the
it.
famous,
famous Grosvenor.
Catskill Resort. And what did you teach dancing there?
And danced on the stage,
Oh, okay. Very good.
which is something I had visualized and actualized.
Well, so a lot of these things you have in your book. Another thing you say in your book, more than once, I have to say.
Repetition is important. You know, the
Well,
best way to learn anything is repetition.
Of course. I think that probably is from your dance days. But in your book here, many times, in different contexts, you use the phrase "wake up."
What?
You use the phrase "wake up" a lot. People should wake up.
Oh.
How come you use that phrase so much?
Well, wake up would be the same as become enlightened.
And in your book, you demonstrate different ways for people to attempt this.
Well, you have to talk to yourself a lot. You really have to talk to yourself. You have to admit things. When did I get in this bad habit, and how can I shake it? When can I start using these talents that I know I have, but my parents or nobody else recognize, but I recognize it? You have to talk to yourself, and you make your decisions. The door is open, and you know you made the right decision. It's wonderful how doors open.
Now, another thing in your book here, I noticed, that you stress the importance of trusting your intuition, or otherwise known as a gut feeling.
Well, that's what people call it. Well, I had this gut feeling. The heck you did. You were getting a divine message.
You would call that a divine message.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And, another thing you talk about in your book a lot, this book
Can you imagine a lot of this and a lot of that,
the
and it's
Human's
still
Handbook,
it's still small. It's so compressed. It's so comprehensive in a few pages. Like somebody who reads tomes said, "You got more information in this than that whole big tome I read." I said, "I don't know how I did that. I just took dictation."
Well, one thing, what I was just going to mention, maybe you could talk about a little, is the importance, you write about in here a lot, of the mind-body connection. It's not, many writers write about this, but tell us your take on that.
Yeah. Whenever they say that, "Oh, you too. Oh, it happened to you. Oh, that's great." And this I thought was exciting. I love classical music.
Yes.
Great. Brahms felt that some of his music, he didn't do. He was inspired. And I said, "Oh, isn't that great?"
Well, many artists talking that.
Give the divine
Yeah.
credit. But I thought I never heard that about Brahms before, that he actually thought that this beautiful music didn't come out of me, it came to me and through me. And I thought, I like that.
Did you feel that way in some of the things you've written in here?
All of them.
All of them?
I sat at the typewriter and took dictation. And when I finished, I read what I had typed and I saw that it was good.
Well, some of your authors that you've mentioned in here,
Yeah.
I'm going to read a few, just their names. Maybe you could talk about, in generally speaking.
Oh, I have a bibliography there.
But just, I was wondering how important to you people like Deepak Chopra,
Oh, he's
Andrew Weil, Bernie Siegel,
mention the women too. There's
Richard Bach. I'm reading of Karen Shannon, Wayne Dyer. You mentioned Wayne Dyer already. So
Christian Northrup.
a lot of your ideas. So these authors were the ones that were important to you the most.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to be able to have an email relationship with Deepak Chopra, but I threw my
I think you were telling me
away.
once. Didn't you meet him once, or was that?
Yes, I did.
Why don't you tell that little story?
He came to wherever WMHT, I guess in Troy, the studio, to tape a TV show. But it wasn't he. it was this Dr. Tansey, I think, who was going to do the show. So he had a lot of free time.
So you went over to the taping, though? with
I
Deepak,
went
okay.
over to the taping, not knowing that's what it was about. They invited me because I'm a member of the mission. I didn't want to listen to Dr. Tansey, and I said, oh, it's too cold in here. I have to go out into the hallway. So I went out into the hallway and sat down, and Deepak came, and he sat down next to me. Now, we had such a wonderful visit. It went on and on because I didn't need him.
Just you and Deepak.
Just me and Deepak were all. And I said, I brought a camera with me, so let's take pictures. And so we took pictures, which I cherish. I have it right, framed it. And I didn't talk about me. And everybody said, why don't you tell about your manuscript? And I said, no, I wanted to talk about him. And I told him how important he was from his first book to all the books after that. It was just so wonderful to have a kindred soul. And I said, the way I found you is this was 30 years ago. You said it was 25. It's 30 years ago. He said, quick, turn on television. There's some man on television talking about your stuff. Deepak got a kick out of that. He read it. So I said, I listened to your voice. I said, there is a kindred soul.
Well, I'm going to ask you to read a little bit. But before we do that, I wanted to ask you one thing.
Yeah.
You're very confident in your beliefs.
Well, I've proved it. I've had miracle after miracle. I got rid of rheumatoid arthritis. I was crippled with one thing or another, got rid of that. I trusted Divine Mind to tell me how to get out of everything.
Okay, and then all
Saved a lot of
this is
doctor's
in the
bills.
book. So I just want to ask you, you do one thing in your book here that a lot of these other authors, I've never seen them do. You have a little
really?
section. You have a little section here called "This is what I know." These authors don't usually do that. So before you read that one little paragraph, how would you sum up your book here under this? This is what I know. How would you want to sum this all up?
Okay, that the mind is more powerful than anything else on earth. The human mind. Nothing is more powerful than the human
And
mind.
it can affect all aspects of your life. Is that?
Definitely. When I got the message, you must be in Greece by the age of 40. Okay, I quit my job, packed up, and by the age of 40, I was in Greece.
And then, have you ever tried to figure out where that message might have come from?
I didn't. Yeah, I had the radio on.
Okay.
No, Joe, of course I knew where it came from.
It was
The same divine message that told me you will not be in a wheelchair from rheumatoid arthritis. You're just going to keep dancing.
that is the story that you tell in here. How you overcame
Yeah,
arthritis,
yes,
and you
yes.
danced for what?
50 years. Oh, God. I'm still dancing.
Yeah, I
I
know.
could mambo right here, and people say, she's how old?
Well, then, why don't we'll end with this here. On the last page of your book, you
Yes.
write what you call here, it's one paragraph long, I'll have you read it. It's called A Love Letter to Humanity. Well, so why don't you read that, and that'll be a good way to
Okay,
conclude
I did
your
this
book.
because I felt part of this book, as small as it is, had some tough love in there.
Yes.
You have to, just like you would with a child, you are not going to smoke. So I felt, since I was kind of tough, why don't I soften
You were tough
it?
on the readers?
Yeah,
Is that-
yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
you were that
Okay.
tough.
Well, thank you. You made me feel very good about that. Okay, but the thing is, this wasn't my idea. I just sat, and it came out of me.
Okay, and this is, I'll
And
just
it's called
I'll
A
tell
Love
people,
Letter to Humanity.
this is the very last page of the book,
Yeah.
A Love Letter to Humanity. Okay, go ahead.
Dear ones, how I long to hear your voice, see your face, know you have awakened. I long to share the wonders of the world with you. Together, we can lift up the mantle of darkness and let in the divine wisdom. It is always there. How good it is that we, in our quiet times, can receive our messages from such a wonderful, powerful, and loving source, all in caps. All the answers to the universal dilemmas are around us for us to just listen, all in caps. I love to be comforted and inspired and energized by the wisdom our source pours into our mind. we share a love that is so great that surely we can overcome all separation, all doubt, all obstacles, and create a new and finer world for humanity to truly enjoy. I believe God gave us love to solve the human problem. Let us use it together. I love you.
Well, I'll just tell people that's a flavor of Marian's writing. The book, the whole book is sort of like that. You're a good example, I think, of I think you practice what you preach from knowing you a little bit.
That's a nice thing to say.
And I'll tell people that the book, we have a couple of copies here in the library if you want to come and check them out, but you can also get the book at the Book House over in Stuyvesant Plaza and on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Or right from the publisher, Balboa
Okay.
Press.
Now, before we end here, is there anything else you'd like to say? I think we've summed it up pretty well here.
That because I say it's from fetus to elderly, it doesn't stop, oh, it's for the elderly. Hey, you forgot it says it's for the fetus.
So you're...
It's for the young people to read before they do damage to themselves. Oh, I did want to call attention to the table of contents.
Yes, your table of contents. What did you want to say about that?
Well, when you read the table of contents and you realize what it covers, it says, an owner's manual for people. First things first, cause and effect, infancy, teach sibling love to avoid sibling rivalry, childhood, young adult, normal changes, middle age, summertime, senior. Well,
I think people get the idea. You go right through
right
the whole...
through. It isn't for, oh, it's a book for senior citizens.
Yes, you have a lot
Oh,
of...
it's a book for pregnant women. It's for everybody.
All right, very good, Marian. Well, Marian, thank you so much for coming down.
Oh, my pleasure. I've been looking forward to this for years, but it took me a while.
All right,
to get.
that's the book. I'm laughing a little bit because I've known Marian a little bit down through the years
I
here
call
from the library days.
Yeah, I call,
and we
I call
finally got
myself
you
cousin.
here.
Yeah, I said, it's Cousin Marian. I'm bothering you again.
No, you're not. You've never bothered me. So that is the book, Marian Glass, Colonie resident,
I'm not really his cousin.
The Human's Handbook. And we will see you next time on Meet the Author.